So let's do a little news of the week video before we get into a very busy night of MLS action where we're going to have 6 games that's going to be happening tonight starting at 4:30 and doesn't end until 10 o'clock my time, which means it's another late night edition of review, and that my review probably will not be uploaded until midnight of my time. But that being said, let us actually get back into the news of the week, and let's just get this straight off the bat, because this is pretty much the biggest talking point, not just in MLS, but in the soccer world right now. And that, of course, is where exactly is Messi going to? Now, technically, Messi is still a Barcelona player, and I know the Barcelona president have been keen to say that they want to keep hold of Messi for this offseason, and that they hope that he can return to Barcelona next year, but we all know that's not going to happen because Messi himself have already said he requested a transfer request, and that there has been a lot of clubs that has been rumored with him. Probably at the top of the list right now is Manchester City, as they are the prime destination of where Messi is going to go. Now, that being said, that didn't stop how MLS has really been kicking into overload in terms of the rumor mill, and that the media team must be so hyped with this Messi mania. I know, that's what I'm going to call it right now. That they are literally talking about that he could potentially come to MLS. Now, I don't think he is going to be coming to MLS right now, and the key word is right now, because I never said that he, of course, will never come to MLS. He might come in the near future, but I highly doubt that he is going to be coming to MLS right now, and there is going to be an MLS team that is willing to sign just probably the most expensive signing thing, or the most expensive deal the league has ever seen before, if that is going to happen. But that being said, as I mentioned earlier about how he is going to be linked with Manchester City and potentially joining that team, well, there is also a report that if he does join Man City, there is actually a contract clause saying that if he does join Man City, there is a situation where once he leaves Man City and once he finish his European career, he will be going to NYCFC. And the reason why I say that is because Man City basically owns NYCFC, and we've seen it before where Man City player, they of course play with the club or play with the affiliates before they eventually become an NYCFC player. So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure NYCFC fans hope that deal is going to work out, because, you know, having Messi on your team, and in general, just having Messi in this league, that's going to attract a lot of fans. And I will definitely think that if Messi does come to NYCFC, you know, unless if NYCFC is finally going to get their job done in terms of that stadium that they've been rumored to build for a very long time, Yankee Stadium is going to be packed pretty much every single week with the whole Messi mania. I mean, just look at what happened when Zlatan came to the Galaxy, and where StubHub Centers for most of the time, or at least for the first year, was just completely packed. And every time when the Galaxy play a road game, usually the stands are basically sold out because of the whole Zlatan media. So imagine if Messi does come into this league, and that, you know, it's not just going to be Yankee Stadium that's going to be probably sold out every single week, but anywhere that he goes in the Eastern Conference, there's going to be some sell-out seat, because they of course want to see Messi to play, even though he is going to be playing against your team and he's technically your opposition. But we'll see whether or not if that's going to be happening in the next couple of years, but for me, I just feel like it's very unlikely it's going to happen right now. Now, what is going to happen, and one big deal that might actually be on the doorstep of finally completing, is Inter Miami holding talk with Luis Suarez over a blockbuster move. Now, I don't want to say I told you guys in the Blues Not show when I talk about how once Luis Suarez has basically is not part of the Barcelona plan, once the season is going to resume and he's on the long list of players that is going to be released by Barcelona this offseason. You know, I did tell you guys that I'm pretty sure Inter Miami fans are definitely, or not Inter Miami fans, but Inter Miami itself are literally watching that headlines, and I'm pretty sure David Beckham and Jorge Mas is grabbing the phone and basically calling Barcelona right now because they want to get Luis Suarez. And this is not a big surprise since they've been linked with the Luis Suarez move for over a year now, and that I really think this is probably the closest that they are going to come in terms of signing Luis Suarez with the situation going on with right now, and that if they eventually do get this deal done, I would expect this to be one of the biggest deal and probably maybe the biggest signing that we have seen before in the league. And the amount of money that Miami is going to have to pay for Luis Suarez is going to be just through the roof in terms of that. But again, this is probably the closest that we are getting to reality, where Inter Miami, after all that rumors about the fact that they're going to get that European superstar player and that they've been linked with Luis Suarez for pretty much over a year now, this is probably the closest that it could actually be a reality that he could actually come to Inter Miami. Now, another player that has been linked to come to MLS for over a year now, and this is kind of a little bit of a silly kind of rumor, but now it looks like Mario Balotelli rumor is back, and that he is once again linked with the LA Galaxy, and that, for the Galaxy, I know they definitely need some help in terms of the attack, and that maybe if they do get Balotelli, that could be a little bit depth in terms of the attack, and that there might maybe be a competition between him and Chicharito of who exactly is going to be playing in that 9 spot. But in all honestly, truth, I'm not quite sure if Galaxy fans or maybe MLS fans want this to happen. Like, while we know Balotelli definitely has the talent to become a very good player, he also has the ability to cause a huge PA nightmare. And imagine if he does go to the Galaxy, and especially going to a city that is known to have these kind of PA nightmare and all these kind of gossip that is going on when you go to LA to play. This is probably not an ideal place if you want to have just a big ego and just always have history of all these PA nightmare and just undisciplined kind of issue that he has in the past. But she'll see whether or not if that is going to happen. But moving on in terms of the next news and talking about Inter Miami again, because besides the fact that they are heavily linked with Luis Suarez to potentially come to their club, they also have been linked with ex-German international defender Holger Bachstepper. I think that's how you say his last name. Now, this move, I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever, because why in the world would Inter Miami think about signing a defender that I actually have never heard before, even though he's an ex-German international, and that the only thing I heard from what people say about him is that he has a long list of injuries and that he is very injury prone. And knowing the fact that Inter Miami has already have a pretty steady defense, and they already had I think enough defensive reinforcement in their team, it just makes no sense whatsoever if they want to burn either one of their international roster spot or burn some money on a guy that probably might not be a starter for this team and that he is very injury prone. So we shall see whether or not if that is the case, but I just feel like this is just one of those crazy rumors of how Inter Miami is linked with everybody, and it turns out of all players that I thought they would be linked with, they actually decided to link with an ex-German international defender known as Holger Bachstepper. Now, another rumor that sounds a little bit crazy and doesn't really make any sense is that FC Cincinnati is interested in English midfielder Marcus Maddison. Now, he currently plays with League One team Peterborough United, although, as we've seen before in MLS, usually when you see League One player comes to MLS, they don't usually have the best success. And especially the fact that he's a midfielder, and I just don't understand why Cincinnati is still thinking about signing a million midfielders. I mean, did they not learn their lesson back in the first year where you don't really need midfielders to basically solve your issue in terms of goal scoring and really do anything on the attack? What you need is some attacker, at least in the number 10 spot, or actually a real number 9 that can actually score the goals for you. And although they technically kind of have it right now with the likes of Jurgen Lacadia being in the number 9 spot. I'm still kind of unsure in terms of that number 10 row. And unless if Marcus Madison can play that number 10 row and do very well for this team, this move just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And that it just continued to add the stereotype of the fact that FC Cincinnati, a team, is always linked with midfielders because they feel like just signing midfielders is a way to get them out of this hole that they have been digging themselves in MLS for the first a year and a half in their MLS existence. Now, Nashville SC is also set to acquire Benfica Venezuelan striker. I think it's Honda Cades. That's how you say his name. Now, this is a guy that I kind of mentioned it before, where they of course are linked with a striker from Benfica and linked with this guy from Venezuela, and that is of course the guy that I kind of mentioned it. Although one thing that I also just saw when I read the article about this rumor is that this is a guy that never plays with Benfica, and he has yet to make his appearance with the team, and he's been spending most of his time on loan in France, and he have only scored 4 goals in his 22 appearances and 12 starts that he has with that club. Yeah, that is definitely not a very stellar number to be a guy that you hope to be your number 9. And clearly, Nashville is a team that is desperate to look for a real number 9 and a goal scorer to this team, because this is the reason why they are not winning games, and that if they really have a true goal scorer, this would be a team that I think could make some noise heading into this season. But it seemed like if their solution is to get a guy that hasn't have a good goal scoring record to come to this team, yeah, that probably is not the best solution in terms of solving the huge issue of not actually having a real number 9 on your team to able to score the goals for your team. Now, Austin FC, who is going to be coming into the league next season, has officially signed Cecilio Dominguez as their first designated player. And as I said before, when they were first linked with him, I do like this signing, and that I think he could definitely be a very decent player when he comes to MLS. And now Austin FC have officially got his signature, and he also become the first designated player, and I believe their first player that is going to be on this Austin FC team roster heading into their inaugural year. And we shall see in these upcoming weeks or even upcoming months how Austin, of course, will continue to build their team. I mean, we're getting to a part of the season where for a lot of these teams that is going to be coming into the league next year, well, only for Austin that is going to be coming into the league next year, this is a time where we're going to start seeing some gaps that is being filled in terms of their roster, and I'm going to be very interested to see how their roster is going to look at. And that this signing also kind of proved to me that they are going the same route as what Atlanta United tried to do in their inaugural years, which is go to South America, look for those hidden gems, and hope that they can bring them up there, or even try to go to Liga MX, as Cecilio Dominguez was a Club America player before he went back to South America. That maybe that is going to be the format in terms of a way to have a very successful first couple of years in MLS. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and this is something that I kind of mentioned it before, but I'm just going to bring it up in the news of the week 2, and that of course is Magnus Eriksson has officially departed with the Quakes, and that, well, he's actually not departed with the Quakes, but he has departed that with he has now no longer a Quakes player, and that he has now returned to Sweden. And that, again, as much as I know there's going to be some fans feel like this isn't the best move, considering the fact that he had a stellar MLS is back tournament, and that if there is a time to get rid of him, probably this might not be the best time, because he's probably in the best form of his time with the Quakes. But I really think, for the better or the worse, this move looked like it was kind of on the decks for a while, and that seemed like last week it has finally happened, where unfortunately Eriksson has officially left the Quakes to go back to Sweden. And obviously I wish him the best going back to his home country, and see how course he does. But now that does brings the question with the fact that I'm pretty sure the Quakes are looking deep in terms of finding a replacement for Eriksson. And I know probably Vako will be maybe the replacement for Eriksson to play in that number 10 role. But if you put Vako there in the number 10 row, then who exactly is going to be playing left wing in that spot? So maybe they'll be looking for a wingers in that spot. Or in the case if Vako does not do well in terms of that number 10 row, then I think this is also a sign where the Quakes really need to think about signing a central attacking midfielder to their team. And I believe they also have a couple of DP spot to trying to sign that. So yeah, this is a time where the Quakes front office, there's no excuse anymore of the fact that, well, you know, before we had a lot of our DP slot that is kind of locked right now, and that, you know, we are kind of short in terms of the funds of signing players. No. This is, you basically just got a bunch of money. Well, I wouldn't say a bunch of money, but some sum of money to potentially be used to find a replacement for Magnus Eriksson. And I know Jesse Fornelli have already said that he has started to work on some deals in terms of getting some signings for the Quakes during this summer transfer window. But until I actually hear real signings and real rumors about how the Quakes are linked with the player, I'm still very skeptical of how this front office is going to approach this. And that I don't have a lot of confidence in terms of this front office finding not only a good replacement for Magnus Eriksson, but actually a decent player that we desperately need to trying to bring in terms of that number 10 spot, or in the left wing spot that I of course will mention. But finally, moving on to the last news of this news of the week is that Carlos Vela is going to be out with an MCL sprain, and that, I guess the good news for LAFC fans is that, you know, he's only going to be out with an MCL sprain, and that I heard there's talk about that the timeline of him missing with LAFC is going to be from 4 to 6 weeks. But the bad news is they're going to be still without Carlos Vela for a bit, which I guess it's not the worst thing. As I said before, how in the MLS's back tournament, when they did not have Vela, they still look like a team that is considered one of the best, if not the best team in the league. And all they have to do right now is just put BWP back into that number 9 row. And I know BWP probably won't go the full 90 minutes, but that's when you can, of course, sub him off and move Rossi back into that number 9 row and potentially bring another substitute to replace the spot that Rossi basically usually play when BWP is on the pitch in that Y area. Although one thing that I do think is a little bit concerned with this injury, and as a whole, is that, you know, now since they have announced a couple of days ago that Diamande is no longer with this team, they do lack a little bit of a depth in terms of that number 9 row. And knowing the fact that Rossi, probably his time with LAFC is started to dwindling with all those European interests coming to LAFC way, I think it is kind of time when LAFC is start thinking about some replacement and maybe get a couple of attacking players that eventually will replace some of the guys that they're going to eventually sell them off to Europe, or they want to improve the depth chart a little bit. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash that subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all these news? And if there's any news that I didn't mention on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.